Hello. Welcome to episode number 74 of CXOTalk. I'm Michael Krigsman with my, shall we say, glorious co-host, Vala Offshore. Vala?
Michael, how are you?
How are you?
We finally get to catch a fist bump on camera.
Finally. And we're here at Gillette Stadium, home of the Patriots, with... Why don't you announce our amazing guest?
Fantastic. We're here with McKenna-Doyle, CIO of the NFL. Thank you very much for joining us, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Our audience would love to know a little bit about your background and a little bit about the NFL.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I'm entering my third season at the NFL, so very excited not to be in my rookie year anymore. I joined NFL from Constellation Energy, where I was their CIO, but I spent most of my career in the media and entertainment business in theme parks, both for the Walt Disney Company and Universal Studios.
Awesome. Fantastic.
So some pretty fun, exciting jobs, but this tops it. I'm a huge sports fan. Grew up loving football.
Sure.
Was a little girl who wished she could play football, and my brother actually played college football, so at University of Alabama. So I now get to tell him that I made it to the NFL and not him. So a good little sibling rivalry.
That's fantastic. NFL must be amazing. Just an amazing
the
organization.
NFL is the most popular sports league. It's amazing to watch what our fans do and love about our sport. And it's comprised, as you know, of 32 franchises that compete every year to win the coveted Lombardi Trophy at the Super Bowl, which is the world's largest annual, most popular sporting event. Last year, Super Bowl 48, we had over 200 million viewers, and making it the most watched television program in U.S. history. So
I mean, the impact on culture
exactly
is incredible.
Well, culturally, it's a time of gathering, families, friends. It is the top at-home party to have, ranking ahead of New Year's Eve.
No kidding.
More food is consumed on Super Bowl Sunday in people's homes, second only to Thanksgiving. So it's a real cultural thing to be a part of. And founded in the 20s, it really set the model for modern-day sports leagues with extensive revenue sharing, competitive excellence, the things that make all our clubs successful across the board, and certainly the national distribution for broadcast deals. All of that, kind of led to us being, America's game, and it's very exciting to be a part of it.
Now, the role of technology has been growing.
Yes.
So tell us about what's going on with technology in the NFL.
No, the game has always been evolving, but it's just that now technology is so much a part of what we all do every day, so no surprise that it's now very much a part of our game, from everything to what players do, to how fans interact, to how coaches coach. So a lot is happening on the technology front. In the past couple of years since I've been at the league, I've seen just this unbelievable rise in the demand for it.
Sure.
And then for us to be able to provide the kind of mobile solutions that people need.
Sure.
So it's been quite a transformation that we've gone through to kind of bring technology sort of out of the data center and into and onto the field,
sure,
and in the locker rooms and in our fans' hands.
When did technology become a core strategy for the NFL? I mean, certainly, I would say 2007, Apple introducing the iPhone was, a marker in terms of technology and computing in your pocket.
Yeah.
And then, of course, social is exploding and apps. And we have the privilege of partnering with the NFL. And it feels like when you came on board, really the agenda and the strategy of bringing technology and closer to the fans was something that the NFL embraced.
Right. I think, certainly the NFL has been evolving over the years, and the mobility of technology is what really began to fuel the growth. And I think they recognized they wanted to hire a CIO who had experience with, sort of intimate guest experience. And so that's what I was able to bring with my background at Disney and launching the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I'd had sort of that hands-on fan, or we call them guests, in that business experience. So I just love that I'm here at this amazing time, because it's a great time to be a CIO, and it's an amazing time to be the CIO at the NFL.
So fan experience is very, very important to the NFL, and you're investing a lot in technology there. So let's begin with a kind of characterization or description of the fan. Describe the NFL fan, if you can.
Well, the fans, we have about 100, and I looked at some of the stats, 188 million fans in the U.S. who raise their hand and say they're an NFL fan, with over 3/4 of them saying they're avid fans. And what's amazing is they cover all demographic areas. So I was also pulling some stats just so I could share them with you about the fans. 46% of our fans are female. Wouldn't that surprise you? It's a very high number.
That's surprising.
78% of kids that are age 12 to 17 say that they're a fan of the NFL. 78% between ages of 12 and 17 raise their hand and say, yes, I'm a fan of the NFL. And 65% of Hispanics in the U.S. say they're a fan of the NFL. So what that says is, wow, we're representing across a lot more than what you typically think of as your male 25 to 34 avid fan.
Sure.
We're covering all the bases.
So it's a very diverse group.
That's a very diverse group, which means you have to have a very diverse way of communicating to them, connecting with them, and when you connect with them. So they love, the ones that are avid fans follow us all year, not just during season.
Sure.
And we do things to fill the calendar so that, we do stay in touch with our fans. And ultimately, the fan experience at home is awesome, but working with partners like Extreme Networks, which we'll talk about some today, and I'm here at a great event that's hosted today by Extreme. We're trying to bring that same technology that you can experience at home, add the in-person element, which there's no match for experiencing it in an NFL stadium, and have the fans be able to be connected during that whole time.
How extraordinary is it for a CIO, Michael, to be able to understand the demographic of the customer at differing degrees, whether it's gender or age or industry? So, that's what sets CIOs apart, extraordinary CIOs.
The use of the data.
Because they are customer-focused, and they're using data to improve the customer experience. So, which to me that puts you in I've worked with a lot of CIOs, it puts you in the 1%.
Oh,
honestly.
Thanks.
So how are you leveraging technology? Now that you understand the fan profile, give us some examples of how you're using technology to improve the fan experience.
Yeah, so, listening to our fans is the first. So when we hear, I can give some examples since we're at the Patriots at Gillette. They have an amazing app that they have deployed for their fans. And they have everything in it, from where's the shortest line to buy a beer to where's the shortest bathroom line. So you can guess that those two kind of go together. If I'm going to have that extra beer, I need to know where the bathroom is. Things like that are convenience-based, that don't seem like a major aha to do, but you wouldn't necessarily think to do it unless you listen to your fans. We also listen to our fans, our female fans, around our consumer products. A lot of the stuff that was in the marketplace wasn't made for a woman's body. And so now you can go online. We launched a whole new women's line just 2 years ago. My first day at the NFL actually was a Vogue event hosted at headquarters, and it was like, wow, this is my welcome to the NFL party. So we've introduced new products and then new ways to connect. And some of our fans only connect to us digitally. So if you live in Europe or in London and you're a fan, you don't have the same broadcast distribution. So we've worked on differing deals on how you can stream different amounts of content based on where you live. So it's really, we have to be flexible so that our fans can consume our content how they wish.
Now, the teams develop their own apps and
Yes.
technologies, and then the NFL is developing apps as well.
That's right. So that we try to make sure that all of our fan experiences across all clubs are excellent. So we have standards for minimum standards that and rules around the in-game experience and the in-game presentation, which often includes an app. But each club is welcome to put their own spin on it because each club's fans are unique,
persona.
And they are. And it's important to note that while we have a lot of fans of the NFL, fans are fans of a team first and then of the league second.
That's right.
So teams and players, they love teams and players and the league in that order. So that's the way we prioritize a lot of the technologies. However, the league puts on playoffs as well as our marquee event, the Super Bowl. So we are developing this year an amazing experience, a new app for Super Bowl 49. So if you're one of the lucky fans that gets to come and be at the game,
Awesome.
You'll get to experience it.
That's fantastic. Well, as the CIO of the NFL, you understand that the 32 clubs need to have some foundational element to their infrastructure
Right.
to be able to connect this hyper-connected fan. Always, Instagramming, Vining, tweeting, Facebook, Snapchat.
Yeah.
But behind all of that technology is infrastructure. Can you talk a little bit about, and we talked about mobility, about your views on Wi-Fi and wireless to enable this amazing experience?
Well, I think this has been an amazing trend to kind of watch and understand. And one of the things that you learn very quickly when you come to the NFL is that our environment is very unique. So while I had to account for millions of people that visit theme parks, they're all moving around. They're not sitting still. They're not enclosed in a venue made of concrete.
Right.
There are just things about the physicality of our environment that makes it difficult.
Sure.
But then we did an extensive study to determine what was the sort of minimum level required, and we partnered with companies like Extreme Networks as well as Verizon, who is our mobility NFL mobile sponsor. And we learned that the DAS sort of environment has to work in concert with the Wi-Fi environment. It's not one or the other. And I think if you go back just a couple of years ago, you'd hear carriers saying, oh, you know what, you only need a good, robust DAS because we've got this great LTE network. That is true, or it was true then, but the consumption of digital content, particularly video, has grown so fast that now the DAS environments need Wi-Fi. Both have got to be very robust in order to handle the demand.
Absolutely.
And we did some analytics at this year's Super Bowl to learn about that in partnership with Extreme around what fans were doing in the stadium and how they were doing it and how we could continue to tweak the infrastructure environment.
Right.
So,
amazing.
So in a sense, you have been undertaking a digital transformation of the NFL, thinking how you can translate that fan experience, which previously only took place in the stadium, but now is much more broadly dispersed.
yeah, I think the NFL for the past many years has been making that, along with our broadcasters, have been making that in-home experience amazing. And so much so that perhaps we needed to pay a little closer attention to what the expectations are of our fans. So the better the at-home experience gets, with the more data, video analysis you can have at home, the more you expect the bar to be raised when you're in the stadium. And certainly we always want the game to be front and center. It should be the most important thing happening, not some cool thing you're doing on your phone. However, it needs to be complementary to the experience in the stadium. And so there has been a digital transformation around making content mobile. Just this week, we launched NFL Now, which is an on-demand personalized video service that fans can personalize all things NFL.
That's amazing.
And watch content anytime, anywhere, on any device, and multiple operating systems. So it has been a great time to be to be here.
To be here. Well, you know, I think about my own experience and my family watching TV at home, and it's a multi-screen experience. I'm holding a tablet or a smartphone. During Sundays, it could be Red Zone.
Yeah.
It could be fantasy football.
Yeah.
So how are you delivering that type of multi-screen environment in the stadiums throughout the NFL?
That's a great point. I think what we're working on doing is, first of all, making sure connectivity, as you said, is a given.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be like having a bathroom. I mean, it cannot be optional. You have to have it. And so our clubs are understanding that and are all undertaking investments. There's significant investments that have to be made. So that's first. Secondly, we love our season ticket holders. So those of us who own season tickets and who have a favorite team and come every year and watch practice, like there was a practice here at Gillette today.
Yes.
You want to make sure they've got preferred experiences. So things like Red Zone and things that you would typically not have in the stadium, we're now making available as benefits to season ticket holders. And then entertainment and its special experiences, allowing a fan to sign up and hopefully maybe win a sideline pass or win a chance to be on the field when the Lombardi Trophy is presented. You know, things like that can happen with one fan, one at a time, only through technology.
So you're
because how
personalizing.
else? It's personalized. I mean, you've got to make a connection. Even though we make millions of connections at 200 million people watch the Super Bowl.
Right.
Those one-to-one connections are what makes it live on in your memory and that special moment and that experience. So we recognize that technology it's not a necessary evil.
Right.
It's a way
Right.
to connect to your fan or your customer in the case of other companies. And you just have to get the top of your organization to see that if you're a CIO.
Sure.
You have to build the case for why it's a must and not a nice to have.
Now, what about fantasy football?
Oh, yeah.
Which is so important. So tell us, for people who don't know, which there may be a few, first tell us a little bit about what that is, very briefly.
So with fantasy football, you can be your own general manager and coach. You can scout, analyze, pick, choose, and draft your own players and build your own dream team, basically, to compete in a league. And you, based on the performance of the players on your team, you play and have a matchup against another team that's in your fantasy league. And we have found it's such an amazing way for people who really know football to play, but more surprisingly, for those who don't know football, to learn football.
Absolutely.
Because the social element of a family or a school or a group pulling together and sort of learning and playing fantasy football together, it's really it continues to expand our fan base. We at the NFL launched a few years ago our own fantasy site. Fantasy can be played across a variety of sites, but the NFL launched its own fantasy product, which is the only fantasy site where you can analyze videos. So they have access to this extensive video library. So if you're really into it, you can even analyze plays and,
that's awesome.
that kind of thing. So that's what fantasy is, and it's become very important to our business.
It sounds like an unbelievable use of educating and expanding through communities.
Yeah.
Is that part of a community strategy?
That is. It's definitely. It's sort of a reality television meets community, social meets. And what's so cool about this is that it's taking an asset that the NFL already had, which is all the statistics on all the players, all the video for every play that's connected to every stat. That's proprietary technology that we own and that we distribute to all the outlets around. And so it's like within companies all over, there are hidden data assets and gems in every organization that haven't been monetized and that your fans may want. And that's what's so great about fantasy. It was a product we already sort of had the guts for.
Sure.
The technology was built by our great digital media department.
And you work with SAP on that, right?
Yes, SAP did a piece of the fantasy. It's called sort of the player comparison tool.
Uh-huh.
So think of it like if you're trying to decide between two players to draft, you can go in and compare players and on the fly sort of pick your best. So it's like your own war room advisor if you're drafting a team. So lots of companies have been, sort of been interested in the B2B aspect,
right,
like SAP for fantasy, and then companies like Verizon for NFL Mobile. We've made that fantasy product now this year more mobile than ever, and they can watch, participate, trade from their mobile devices. So
I have to ask. I mean, you're driving digital transformation within the NFL. You're a collaborative CIO thought leader, and you're also social. I see you on Twitter. You're active. You're accessible. What motivates you to speak to fans and just about anybody? I see people asking you questions on Twitter, and you respond. I'm like, one of the most extraordinary CIOs, and she's totally accessible to anyone.
Well, I think if you're not, I mean, it would be a boring, I think I found, and no knock to the energy industry, but it wasn't the most fun to be talking to your customers of their electric bill. So I didn't realize how important that was to me until I took a sort of a short break from it. I mean, I'd been talking to guests my entire career at Disney and Universal, and then I did this 2-year stint at Constellation, and there wasn't that sort of one-to-one relationship. So when I got to the NFL, I think it's the power of the brand to connect, and then just our fans care so much. Absolutely. Even when they're being critical, they're coming from a place of the reason they're being critical is they care so much. And what a great place to be. And as a CIO, I think what a CIO has been defined and redefined many times. And I became a CIO and in the IT field in the late 90s when the internet was really just picking up. And I came from finance, marketing, sales, product development. That was my background. Sure. And I love the marriage of the two. And that's why I do it. Plus, I just I have teenage children as well. My daughter is 16, a junior in high school, and my son is an entering freshman. So they keep me engaged socially, if nothing else, to watch what they're up to.
So in a sense, as the CIO for the NFL, you're the steward of that fan relationship from the point of view of how can you apply technology to deepen that relationship.
Right. We've got a great direct marketing and CRM department that obviously relies on data and tools. I mean, that's a huge partnership. My job at Disney for many years was working on the CRM implementation, so I spend a good bit of time with the marketing department who works on that. We have a club business development team that partners with clubs on the fan experience. They bring new business deals all the time, like this club is looking at this deal and that deal, and I get to weigh in on sort of the feasibility and how it would work and how it would impact our fans. So yeah, I love being able to get plugged into a variety of ways. And when you're new to a company, I think this is good advice for CIOs that move around. I mean, I think if you read the shelf life of a CIO in an organization is often one of the shortest C-suite positions. And I think that's because you typically drive change. And if you don't drive it the right way, collaboratively, and coming from the point of view of your customer, it's a recipe for a short job. Sure. And so since I didn't really know anyone at the NFL when I started inside the walls of the NFL, the best place I could think of to start was the fans. Awesome. I mean, I knew what a fan was like because I was a fan.
Putting the fan at the center.
Customer absolutely. At the center.
Now, we have about just over 5 minutes left, and we've spoken a lot about the fan experience. But you're doing a lot with technology on the field.
Literally on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw your tweets. Eli Manning holding a tablet
Yeah.
And it looks awfully like the one you're holding in your
Yeah,
hands.
it's a little bit different than this one because we have to make the one on the
Sure,
field be
sure.
able to be thrown or dropped or kicked.
Are you not throwing yours
Yeah,
yet?
I don't throw mine. But yes, this year we, in partnership with Microsoft and their sideline sponsorship, have rolled out the Surface. Our players and coaches can review the plays on the Surface device. They can look up the close. They can annotate on top
cool.
of them, and so it's we're breaking new ground and working out the kinks in the preseason. We're also on the field this year. You'll see our referees and officials wearing a wireless headset.
Oh wow!
They're communicating with each other and with our headquarters command center for game day to sort of continue to improve the consistency of officiating. And also now, instant replay, when they go under the hood, we'll be reviewing it in New York for the first time. So that's a lot to put on the field in 1 year.
Sure.
And it required us, before this year, we didn't have connectivity to send that kind of video back to the NFL. So it's been a very short summer to get ready for the season.
What advice do you have? I mean, you are just, from digital transformation point of view, are remarkable, and you're doing this fantastic work. What advice do you have to CIOs? Because again, lots of CIOs watch the show, and they all, not all, but it's a challenge to transform a business and be mobile and social, cloud apps, big data, wearables, and Fitbits,
and you have new processes.
I
changes.
mean, Internet of Things, and all of that. So, if you could just share your advice to our audience, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say is you first have to realize you're not in control anymore. If you ever were in control, which was probably in your own head anyway, but if you thought you were in control, you aren't. And so you have to learn how to enable and not be a barrier to progress. And then you have to be willing to innovate and fail. You have to try things like, we've got those tablets on the sidelines. It wasn't perfect the last few weeks. We had a few things go wrong, but you have to be willing to be tolerant of that. And you have to work for an organization that's tolerant.
So shorter
of that.
iteration cycles.
Shorter iterations. And then embracing shadow IT. I mean, if you look back over the years, you have to embrace shadow IT. There are not enough IT people in this world to roll out the technology that your customers demand. So you better find some shadow IT.
But doesn't that kind of fly in the face of how a CIO is trained? So how do you make that? I mean, it sounds easy, but there have to be challenges.
By the way, whether it's Kim Stevenson of Intel, we just had the CIO of McAfee, CIO of Dell, CIO of HP. Some of these extraordinary CIOs we've had on our show, they all say what you just said.
Yeah, it's so true.
Collaborative CIOs view shadow IT as an opportunity to learn and enhance their service
to understand what the business wants.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does fly in the face of how we've been classically trained, but I think what that says is that we better change how we're classically training people.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's what it says.
Yes.
And if you haven't adapted to that, and sometimes it's, look, if you work for the Department of Defense, or, how much shadow IT can you have? Well, there's a much bigger risk, okay? So you have to manage risk, not lock down access. And there's a difference. And I think the natural instinct is to make it as safe as possible, which certainly everybody wants to be as safe as possible. But it's more about managing the risk. So if I can allow, if it's low risk to the overall enterprise and it helps speed along a business process, I can't get it in my pipeline, but they've found a partner, consultant, vendor, whomever, as long as I give them the tools and there's a process to check. Look, we've had some bumps in the road where you can't open the door totally wide open, but at the end of the day, you cannot control everything, and my success is only reflected based into how my customers are successful. And when you start thinking like that, that's how it works.
Advice. And National Football League is lucky to have you.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to be here. So.
And it's interesting how when we're talking about fan experience, you're putting the customer at the center, and we're talking about internal IT, you're putting the internal customer
Absolutely.
right at the
That's
center.
what it's about. Yeah.
And on that note,
that is the fastest half hour.
That is a great.
was
It is
fun.
great to end on that note. You have been watching episode number 74 of CXOTalk, and our guest has been Michelle McKenna-Doyle, who is the CIO for the National Football League.
Can we fist bump? Just
We
because
can.
we don't get to
All right.
do that.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. And
Awesome.
Thank you, Michael.
all right. So we have a three-way
Yes.
fist bumping
Awesome.
going
Great
on.
show. Thank you very much.
Thank
Michelle.
you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me.
And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.